Citizens, what's up? It's President Awall here. This is post-balance patch content. Just released like 4 videos in the last couple days to get my pre-balance patch stuff out. Boba Fett is the focus of this video. Probably the #1 most requested hero or legendary that you guys have been wanting to see. With the recent balance changes to Boba Fett, as well as to Slave 1, primarily the fact that its cost has been decreased to 3, Boba Fett is now very viable as a hero killer. And he does a lot of damage to heroes, which is great. His special ability does 12% more damage to enemy leaders, which is amazing. 1 in every 3 attacks is going to be a flamethrower, which helps you defend. Really nice single target as well as area of effect versatility there. Also, you've got your skill, which fires a missile from your jetpack, dealing 300% of attack power as AoE damage. That's beautiful. Your health is okay at about 1,000. It's not the best. Your movement speed is okay. It's not the best. Your attack range is okay. It's not the best. But you do have a jump pack, and you are able to jump over obstacles, which can help you get away or not in certain situations. I haven't found the free movement ability or element of Boba Fett to be incredibly useful. I'm going to take this deck that you see on the screen right here, and I'm going to take it into a number of gameplays, but I just want to briefly describe to you the strategy behind this deck. And it's similar to the Orson Krennic deck that I brought you guys recently. It's all about successfully and efficiently defending, which Boba Fett can do very, very well, and then countering with vehicles in either lane. And the way that you defend is to have 2 area of effect options on your roster, one being Slave 1, which has been changed recently and does a lot of damage, 367 damage, pretty good, very comparable to like a TIE fighter. But it pulls everything in within range and then blows everything up within that range. So, that ability can be paired up with your leader's ability, your missile strike, and if you drop Slave 1, everybody's pulled together, you hit them with your missile strike, and then they blow up with Slave 1. It does an amazing job of clearing out those mobs that you're going to be seeing very consistently from the Rebel side. And when you're looking to defend very efficiently, that card helps a lot. Probe Droid, amazing card for defending, really stops up the lane, and your turret is excellent at defending as well. Helps slow down the enemy, helps soak up damage, another 1,000 HP, or 1,000 HP there to do that. I'll explain the rest of the cards. Let's just take it straight to the ladder. So far, and I'll see if I can generate similar results in this video, but figuring this deck out, I picked up a number of losses, and then once I hit this particular configuration with this deck, I am 10-1. right now, so I'm on a bit of a streak. So that's why when you guys are asking, you know, bring a Callus deck, show me a Palpatine deck, show me a this deck and a that deck, show me this leader, why aren't you listening to me in the comments, you say. I read every single comment on the channel, and I reply to pretty much every single comment. I don't bring you decks on this channel unless I've personally explored them, and I am on a win streak where they have a very high win percentage. So I'm not going to bring you Callus, for example, on the channel until I am a boss with Callus, and I have a great deck that is working extremely well. I don't want to just explain generally how a legendary works, because I understand how all of the legendaries work, and then not be able to give you a valuable application of that particular hero. That is not the case here with Boba Fett. This deck has been tested. This deck is very, very effective, and it is working well with the current meta. So what I mean by that is you're going to see rebels throwing those mob strategies at you. They're going to be dropping those rebel troopers, those Twi'leks, those marauders. They're going to be trying to double stack tanks and push down a particular lane. And I've seen a number of strategies where they try to throw mobs in both lanes with Landau or Landu, as you guys have said in the comments. I like to say Landau. I don't know if that's correct or not. Does quite often with this ability to have more energy. And so this deck, you need to have the versatility to defend both lanes, which I do have. And with Boba Fett's increased kind of movement, as you can see, he can jump over stuff. His move speed is relatively slow, but the fact that he can jump over stuff is beautiful. And as you can see, they are going for that early pressure. Dang it. I just dropped stormtroopers in the middle of that madness. But this probe droid should be able to handle these troopers pretty effectively. And as you can see, the flamethrower really cleared him out the way I wanted to there. Missile strike to take that out. And that was a very effective defense, which I'm pretty happy with. And this is a big reason why I've got MTV7 light vehicle on board. as well as ATST, is the light vehicle, as you know, is an excellent defense tool, which is something that you're going to need to be doing a whole lot of when you're up against these rebel decks. So let's go ahead and drop down Slave 1 here. This should be taking out 5 cost worth of enemies for 3 cost. Isn't that beautiful? The value I just got out of that Slave 1 is just freaking phenomenal. So I'm going to drop down the infantry turret in that lane to ensure that he can't pressure there, even if he wanted to. And ATST in the other lane. And I will throw in some stormtroopers here as well to deal with the inevitable defense that we're going to see. And this is cool. He's going to end up pressuring pretty effectively. He's going to end up defending, rather, against this ATST pretty effectively. I've got a good little mob going here, and he's probably going to push in, so this is a good time for Slave 1. Slave 1 pulls everybody in and blows them all up. Do you see how effective Slave 1 is now? Like, isn't that awesome? Isn't that a really, really cost-effective defense? I feel like it is, and it's working really well against these decks. It still comes down to the wire. To be perfectly honest, it's still coming down to the wire when I'm trying to handle these decks, and we'll see if I can end up pulling off this defense or not. Dropping down the ion mine there, and there we go. There's the mob in the other lane I was talking about. Probe droid, unfortunately, okay, perfect. Probe droid is attracting the attention of multiple of the enemies here. I'm gonna throw my, dang it. He ended up having a very quick response there, unfortunately. I was going to throw my blades there. Those blades, if they go unchecked, can do a significant amount of damage to a structure if you just leave them unchecked. So let's just drop the light vehicle here for defense, as well as another turret. And as you can see, it's really difficult for Lando to be able to push in on any of my lanes. Stormtroopers here for that great single target support damage. And I can quickly take out those Pathfinders with the jetpack, and unfortunately I don't have a great defense option against this tank. That sucks. I had the wrong cards in that scenario, so he's going to end up taking down this structure right at the buzzer and probably picking up the W as a result. His timing was really good there. It really was. Unfortunately, my blades weren't ready, and I wasn't ready to defend, so those are the situations where you're going to end up getting punished by that mob. Like, that's all Rebel's doing right now, is just mob, 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 mob. But as you can see, I have the tools available to be able to defend against that. So let's talk about the dual vehicle strategy. It didn't work out that game because it was nothing but low-cost mob, and I was unable to really effectively counter and defend because they kept switching lanes. Light vehicle allows you to defend very effectively. ATST is absolutely necessary for pressure once you have the advantage against your opponent. In that game, I never had the advantage, and that's a big issue. And ATST is not useful when you're behind to try to make a comeback. It's useful to pressure when you're ahead, when you have a lot more energy than your opponent because you have very cost-effectively defended, and ATST can punish that and allow you to drop a big energy card down and get a lot of yield out of it. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and just hit the ladder one more time and see if I can maybe show you guys a win or two. That would be really nice. As you guys know, I'm not afraid to post losses on the channel, and that would be my second loss with this particular deck. So I'm 10 wins and 2 losses. That's the actual record with this one. So let's see if I can get a win here and just show you what a win looks like. Lando is the toughest to be able to counter with this particular deck, and that Lando was never aggressive. And it's a huge boon to you as a Boba Fett player if the enemy is getting aggressive and if they're pushing in across essentially the halfway point through the map, because it allows you to get those pot shots on the enemy. And Boba Fett rips through Rebel legendaries. His regular auto attack plus that missile he fires off his back, you can rip through an enemy legendary in like no time flat. And that Lando was very, very smart not to kind of cross that midway point, just to stand back, to defend, to just use his energy advantage against me, and to deploy the right units in both lanes. And you saw his strategy. He was dropping small units in this lane, maybe little small units in that lane, tank in this lane, small units in that lane, hoping that I would over-invest in defense in one lane versus the other, which ended up resulting in him getting that W. and I was a little bit slow on the response to defend against that tank, which resulted in me losing. And that is, that's how you can be effective with Rebel right now. I'm having a hard time seeing higher cost decks or really working for Rebel. It's mostly this mob strategy. Now Luke's, given the recent Luke changes, with his like run speed decreased and things of that variety, Luke's are less suicide Luke now. Let me know in the comments below what kind of strategies you're seeing. I'm seeing more defense Luke. So Luke will just sit there in the middle of the lane and just deflect blaster shots, which is really effective, by the way. My MTV-7 light vehicle is just firing at him, deflect, no problem. The only thing I really have that can cut through is to hit him with that area of effect damage from my missile, to hit him with my slave, to hit him with any number of, and I'm actually going to drop an ATST for that early game pressure and see what I can do there. And Luke is going to think that he's going to be clever, and this is when the missile strike comes in handy, and we'll drop down this infantry turret here as well to continue to defend. The Grenadier doesn't do too well against turret. As you can see, I really tore through that enemy turret in the bottom lane, and this is perfect. He brought that big old mob in, as you can see, and he's going to use a little boost there. And the Stormtrooper should do the single target damage I need to at least assist here in this situation. But he's got a second tank in this lane. That is disgusting. That is disgusting. He's going to be able to do, at least half of the HP off of this structure. So let's see if we can rush this tower and get a little something done. And I'm going to back up here. Going to make sure I don't die. And let's drop the light vehicle and continue with a heavy defense strategy. As you can see, the flamethrower is going to do really well. I maybe should have used Slave 1 there instead, but I wanted to have a more lasting defense because I knew he was going to have pressure coming through this lane here in just a moment. Luke should be able to get back in the game and continue to try to pressure this lane. And what I'm going to do is he's just going to defend. That's cool. While he's defending here and he's looking to... I actually have enough energy to pull this off. ATST in the top lane, and then what I'm going to do is drop Probe Droid here in the bottom lane, which should really effectively defend against these units and should kill everyone. And now he has Mob in this lane. Ooh boy, this is going to be rough. This is going to be super rough. Going to drop down Slave 1 here. Should pull Luke in, delay him for at least a moment, but he is still going to rip through me with that damage. And bam! Oh, the missile missed. The missile missed. And where are my vulnerable structures? Down here. And let's see if we can take Luke out. Oh, God, I got him. That was beautiful. And now these blades are really getting some work done on this tower. And he can take down this bottom tower, no problem at all. Let's see what he decides to do. He's going to pressure top lane. That's going to be really interesting. So what I'm going to do is drop all this single target damage down here. Luke is going to take out the bottom turret. He was guaranteed to be able to get that. Like, no problem. And then he's going to see if he can pick up this bottom while he's at it. I don't think he's going to be able to. I'm betting that he's not going to be able to. And let's see if we can push in on this lane and get this quick W here before this game is over. And here we go. We're down to the wire. ATST should guarantee it. And there's the W. So effective defense and then effective counter pushing here with Boba Fett. As you can see, having both vehicles is useful. The ATST was in play there. It did a significant amount of damage early game, and I was able to use it effectively. There are some games where that ATST is not necessarily in play in the way that you want it to be and really get the yield for you, and you feel like you wasted energy. It's hit or miss, to be perfectly honest, but I haven't been able to find a good replacement card. Okay, cool. So why am I using Stormtroopers versus, say, something like Rocket Trooper or Zabrak Assassins, whatever? I am using it because I want to have two really solid single target damage options to counter tanks. And so that's the way that this deck is set up. That's generally the way I set up my decks. I usually have two area of effect options, Slave 1 and Probe Droid in this case, two single target damage options, Stormtroopers as well as Bladesmen, two siege or tanking options, light vehicle as well as ATST, and then one unique card, essentially. And in this case for me, the sort of unique wild card is going to be the infantry turret for defensive purposes. That's basically the way I was thinking about this deck composition. It has a relatively low average cost for having a 5-cost vehicle and a 7-cost vehicle in it. It's at 3.7. And in comparison to my Director Orson Krennic deck, which I shared with you guys on the channel very recently, posted so much Krennic, that deck was 4.1 cost. And that was because I had Death Squad Leader as a part of that deck, which is another 5 cost. And it was a really, really heavy investment deck. And I've been testing that deck recently. I'll let you know how Orson Krennic is faring given the buff, but so far so good. His 10% energy cost, or energy generation increase has been just amazing. Like, it's way better than the conditional buff that you used to get for his leadership skill. Cool, we're going to see if we can defend successfully against this Lando right here. This is, as I mentioned earlier, this is the kryptonite of this deck. It's fine. We've got Pathfinders here. I want to be very, very careful with how we proceed. And I'm going to make sure that I have some good defense options. And let's see if I can take out this Grenadier here. Or Grenadier, as you guys call it. I don't know. And this Lando, I'm going to try to push him back, right? And it's... the jumping gets really, really annoying. And I'm getting wrecked in the bottom lane. I don't even know what's going on down there. I think I just totally blew it. And let these... Oh my god! Just let these troopers rip through this lane. Huge mistakes were made there. Huge mistakes. And I'm going to use Slave 1 here. And unfortunately, Lando dodges that. And I'm just blowing it. I'm just totally blowing it in this game. I totally screwed up that bottom lane. And just let him just wreck it. So I'm going to have to mount a comeback here. That was a huge mistake, letting all those units hit down there. I was too busy doing commentary and not paying attention to what was actually going on. And so we're going to drop Stormtroopers here in the top lane, and we're going to need to do some dual lane pressure in order to come back. We are way behind. So let's drop down Probe Droid, and let's see if he continues to do some dual lane pressure himself. He is. So we're going to drop down Light Vehicle, and this Grenadier, hopefully, trying to take him out. And unfortunately, I'm unable to target him because he's stuck behind this freaking tank, and I can't actually get anything pushed through there. This dual tank strategy is so effective for Landos. It's really tough to deal with. My Stormtroopers ended up taking out the tank. He's got the Marauders there, and this is, let's see if I can make this comeback happen. And if he's going to let me stick around, if he's going to stick around and let me shoot him, I'm all right with that. As Boba Fett is just so effective at killing heroes. But notice this Lando is just taking 0 risks. No risks of any description at all. He's just sitting back, and he's just, waiting for me to make a mistake, essentially. And my movement speed is so low, I don't even know what's going on in that lane. I can't even look over there. There's the tank, and I think he's going to end up taking out this tower. Yep, there it is. And let's see. And now he's got this giant mob in the top lane. Hopefully Probe Droid can end up shutting that down. Going to shoot the missile. Unfortunately, it didn't target what I wanted it to. And I think Slave here is going to be a really good one. And got pulled Lando into it. That's beautiful. And now he's going to pressure this bottom lane. What I want to be very careful of, is exactly this. Where he uses his tank, unfortunately, to pressure the bottom lane, which prevents me from defending against the top lane. So this deck is now 11-3. 2 losses in this video against Lando players, which is interesting. So he's really good at countering, simply because he's able to throw in so many units with his energy cost buff. But regardless, that's this deck. It's very effective. It wins way more games than it loses. But let's just keep in mind what the top ranked decks in the world are. And they're going to be Luke decks, and they are going to be Vader, and I also think there's a number of Lando decks here. Well, there at least was an hour ago. There's a number of Lando decks out there that can be extremely effective. There's those 2 losses and 1 win. Just keep in mind this does not reflect the general win percentage with this deck. It's very effective. Cool. That's it for this video. Check this deck out. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And let me know if you're able to climb the ladder with this one. And for those of you that are asking what the replacement is for Slave 1 in this case, I would highly recommend just swapping in a TIE Fighter or a Sand Trooper as a replacement. Sand Trooper probably going to be a little bit more reliable for you than a TIE Fighter. Cool, that's going to be it for this video. I'm going to throw my avatar up on the screen. Click that to subscribe to my channel for daily Star Wars Force Arena content, and I've got a couple more videos over there. Click those because my videos are pretty great. Have to admit it. Alright, thanks for watching, amigos. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.